Episode 2 of the Enter the Geek Matrix podcast. I know it's been a while. I know everybody's been wanting to get up to date with it and was wondering what was going on. And we've had some scheduling issues. Him and I mean, me being full-time school and him being full-time dad is it can get pretty hectic. So we've been trying to work out some kinks, and hopefully we can kind of get the episodes rolling out regularly going forward from here on out. So and once again, I'm Matrix. You guys already know. This is my cousin and great friend, Obi John Kenobi.
What's up?
So today, well, originally when we first planned this episode 2, we really were kind of going off of what we had already seen with the final trailer for The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And then just kind of the general idea we had of The Mandalorian, because it hadn't released yet.
Right. But now it has, and we're 2 episodes
and
in.
so everything's kind of collided pretty well, you know, considering we've been kind of having to take the time off to get back to do another episode. And, well, we already were considering discussing, and it just, now it's all here.
Yeah, we actually have more to talk about.
Yeah, a lot more to talk about. A lot more to talk about. So, I figured let's go ahead and just roll right in, check out this final trailer, and see what we think.
Yeah, man. Do it.
All right, so I'm going to switch over here real quick. Get down here.
It's an instinct. A feeling. The force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited, and now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny. The Force will be with you.
Always.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, man. I've watched that a few times now, and it still, like, gives me goosebumps as I'm watching
And,
it.
and you still kind of catch things like that you weren't really catching before. Like, for instance, I watched it just a little bit earlier before you just so happened to get here. And, you know, obviously, I heard Palpatine's voice right at the beginning, you know, and talking and everything.
Recognizable, instantly recognizable.
Obviously, you know who that is. And there's an instance, I think it's like 3/4 of the way through, and Rey's there, and it's kind of all dark around her, and you see this chair kind of floating, and this hooded figure very much resembles Palpatine himself.
Yeah.
Which got me thinking, I mean, it's Emperor Palpatine. He very well could have survived that drop when Luke threw him down that shaft, you know?
He could have. I mean, Maul survived being cut in half by Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And he survived the fall and being cut in half. So a Sith as powerful as Sidious could definitely survive that fall. There's also in the so I was a huge fan of a lot of the books in the extended universe.
Right.
Before Disney took over and retconned all that.
See, and I read a few, but
Yeah.
and then that happened, and it was just
Yeah. Well, in the books, Palpatine was obsessed with immortality.
Really?
And eventually he was creating clones, and he would he could project his consciousness into the clones.
I do remember that. Yeah.
So there's theories that may tie into it as well. And then we could sit here and do like fan theories and conspiracy theories all day long and all kinds of stuff. But that was always Palpatine's goal, was immortality. And ever since, you can tell since Palpatine was in Episode 1, even to now, that Palpatine's playing a long game. He's playing chess.
Well, even his relationship with Anakin, I mean, he was obviously manipulating him to build up this kind of father-son kind of relationship. But then, if you go back and watch like the prequels on through to 4, 5, and 6, you see that even like Return of the Jedi, he didn't really give a shit about Vader anymore. He knew he was washed up. Yeah, he was done. He wanted Luke to turn. He wanted that new apprentice to do his bidding.
Oh yeah. Well, there was always in the Sith mentality. There's always that. You're always searching for more power. The rule of 2 is that one Sith embodies the power and one Sith craves the power.
Okay.
And that's what the rule of 2 is, and that's why there's always 2.
So I'd imagine the master is the one that embodies the power?
Correct.
Right, okay.
And like I said, going back into the books kind of expanded upon that. Essentially, the more Siths there were, the more diluted the power of the dark side was, and stuff like that. But since Disney retconned all that, a lot of that's gone. But, yeah, Palpatine has always been playing the long game. He's always been going for immortality. And that's why the Force Ghosts have been such a big thing with the light side and the Jedi, is because they have achieved that
immortality kind of thing.
But not quite, not to how Palpatine wants it.
Right.
Because, and that's something that the Sith can't understand, is because the Jedi are gaining immortality and guiding future generations, whereas the Sith crave that power internally and for themselves.
Right.
It's
a very selfish side of the Force.
It is. There's part of the creed is I mean, if you read the Jedi and the Sith creed, it's very, selfish versus altruism and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's still very empowering too. Like, there's a lot of people that prescribe to the Sith creed, and I get it. But again, it's the Sith.
Yeah, true. I mean, as a Star Wars fan, you can't go for the Sith. I mean, you can empathize with them. Everybody empathized with Darth Vader at the very end.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can't be a Sith. It's just not possible.
Yeah, but it's and he was always playing the long game. I was reading an article today talking about how Yoda was quite possibly realized what Palpatine was doing and started trying to play the long game himself.
Which is why he kind of gave up during their fight and kind of ran away. He ran away. He
went into Dagobah, but he stayed alive to train Luke.
Right. And as wise as Yoda was, I mean, he could have known that, let's play the long game.
Yeah.
You may lose the battle, but I'm going to win the war.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of speculation about what Rise of Skywalker actually means. Because you got to think, the only Skywalker left is nobody, really.
I mean, as far as the films go, Leia's still alive.
Yeah, but she's not
IRL,
Skywalker.
Sadly, R.I.P.
She's not Skywalker. She's an Organa.
Well, she's still technically Skywalker blood.
No, she's Skywalker blood, but she doesn't go by the last name Skywalker.
Yeah, but I mean, does the title necessarily have to mean it has to be someone going by?
I would think so.
The only thing I can think of on this is that we still technically don't know who Rey's parents were.
No. And now, like I said, we can go into conspiracy theories all day long. I think she may be a clone of Anakin, or I think that Anakin was initially created by Sidious.
Maybe a mixture of Padme and Anakin.
Maybe. Well, so Sidious tells Anakin the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Right.
And in the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, he tells him that Darth Plagueis was so powerful he could actually manipulate the midichlorians to create life. Mm-hmm. Now, what he doesn't say is that he actually did it. Mm-hmm. But everyone kind of assumes that Darth Plagueis was the one who created Anakin because Sidious said that Plagueis could do it. But Sidious also said that he was killed by his apprentice because he'd already learned everything he could teach. So that means Sidious knows how to do it too.
Yeah.
I suspect that Rey was either created by Sidious manipulating the midichlorians to create life again, or is a clone of Anakin, and Sidious created Anakin.
Okay.
And then it plays into his whole plan of immortality. That's my suspicion. Right. But yeah, the trailer name, the Rise of Skywalker, is suspicious because it makes you think, well, what Skywalker is going to rise? Is going to be Luke rising as a Force ghost and somehow getting a new power as a Force ghost that the previous haven't? Is it going to be Anakin somehow still being alive, surviving his fall.
God, would that not be amazing?
He is the chosen one
he
to bring balance, and he never did. Well, I mean, technically he did. It was left 2 and 2.
But see, here's the thing about Anakin, though. Technically, his body was burned on Endor.
I think most of it, he was still organic core.
Yeah, I mean, he
Still
was
had a head
for
and a
sure a
brain.
robot. He was like Android 17.
He was a cyborg. He was a cyborg.
Cyborg, yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm really excited to see what it is.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Because ultimately, whether you, which of course you're always gonna have haters on anything you do.
Oh yeah.
So whether you hated The Force Awakens or you hated The Last Jedi, it doesn't necessarily matter. This is the culmination of all of this.
It's the end.
And it's the end. It is the end. You know, and it's the same thing like even the prequels. I mean, whether you hated Episode 1 or Episode 2 or Episode 3, when you got to Episode 3, it was the culmination of everything they had started doing to build up, which did transition into the original Darth Vader and everything. Mm-hmm. And regardless of how you look at it, it's a continuously flowing story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very long story. I remember when the prequels came out, like the older kids hated it, and the adults hated it. The younger kids liked it. The younger kids were way into the pod racing part of it and stuff like that, which is understandable. But as a Star Wars fan, I'll tell you what, I went back and revisited them like a few years ago and found out that if you just look past Jar Jar Binks, which is very hard to do, but if you do, and if you look past the pod racing part, because that was in there for kids, Star Wars is for kids first of all, it's actually not bad. You get Qui-Gon Jinn. You get Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is one of the best renditions I've seen. It's amazing. You get Darth Maul, who's an incredible Sith villain.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Get Count Dooku, and you get this whole like political intrigue and betrayal and all that from the Clone War. And you know, there's a lot of good stuff in it, and I think it got a lot of hate. I'm not even going to go into like why I think it got a lot of hate. It did get a lot of hate.
Yeah.
A lot of the same hate that the new ones are getting. And I bet you 10 years from now, when we go back and revisit The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, when we go back and revisit, we're gonna be able to identify some very small things that we may not have liked. But if we look past those, we'll see that they were actually really good films.
In all honesty, I loved them. I loved both of them. Even some of the things, like at first, you know, some of the people were upset, like in The Last Jedi, how Luke was portrayed, you know. But then
I loved it.
I did too.
I loved it.
You know why? Because I went back and watched it, and he's like, he reminds me of Yoda.
Yeah.
In The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah.
Are you both vampires? No, we're just really, really white. But thank you for asking.
As long as it's not the sparkling vampires, I'm okay.
Yeah, right. We want to be real vampires.
Yeah.
But no, so I did like that. I mean, and then it was even funny too when he was gonna burn the sacred text.
Yeah.
He goes, real page turners, were they?
Yeah, Yoda always had such a good sense of humor. I loved it. I mean, watching it in as a kid, seeing Frank Oz doing Yoda and stuff like that, and you know, as you grow up, you learn more about who Frank Oz was and how he had a hand in Dark Crystal. And he was, you know, his association with Jim Henson. You know, it's very cool to see all of that aspects in. But the character of Yoda has always been like this very intriguing individual. He's enigmatic and yet so brutally forward. It's incredible that you can create a character like that.
Well, and let's be real. Whether you're watching kung fu movies, sci-fi movies, Jedi, whatever the case may be, you want the master, the one teaching you, to have that kind of, you don't really know what's going to come out of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and regardless of whether it seems to make no sense or does make sense, eventually down the road, it'll all make sense, and they don't have to tell you why.
Yeah, the Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
That's who that is, yeah.
I mean, and that's what you want, man, because you don't want the stern, hard pounding, because you're going to end up resenting them, and that's what turns someone to the dark side.
Right, yeah.
No, you want someone who you're going to be like, I'm really ready to just fucking leave him, you know?
I don't know what he's saying half the time. Dream the dreams you didn't know you had, and I don't know.
Which is another reason why I'm excited for this next film, is because Rey. She's clearly, because it's happened, and I mean, Luke did it himself. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the books. We got to kind of tell what Luke did in between The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi. But this film, hopefully, they're going to show us what kind of training Rey has to go through in order to get prepared for this final fight.
Yeah, to show down against a Sith that was trained by probably one of the most powerful Sith that ever existed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, she's going to have to definitely have some serious training in order to face that. And that showdown that they showed, like, you know, where Kylo Ren looks like a cat coming out of the bath. He's soaked. And, but, I mean, that's going to be such an epic fight. And then the poster of, like, them on the tilted ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can see the rain falling and the two lightsabers. That's such a cool...
Yeah.
That's going to be an epic lightsaber fight. So that's I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and we need an epic one at this point, because The Force Awakens had the good one with Rey and Kylo Ren and the snow, and you know, that was a good one.
Right,
that was a good one.
That was good.
And The Last Jedi was good. I mean, their fight there in front of Snoke and Snoke dying. Everybody really wanted Snoke die, especially after they finally got to meet him.
Yeah,
he was kind of just a prick. He needed to go. You know, he needed to go. It was over for him. He was.
I really feel like Snoke dying though was an unfired. What's the trope? It's called Chekhov's gun. So Chekhov's gun is the concept that if you show a bar with a, you remember Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah.
When they kept mentioning about the rifle above the bar.
Right.
And they kept saying, well, it doesn't work. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
That's Chekhov's gun. And then the fact that they took it down and used it, that's Chekhov's gun. If you show a rifle in a film, somebody better shoot that rifle.
So it's almost like foreshadowing?
Kind of. Yeah, it's, you know, if you show something that can be used, you better use it. Otherwise, it's pointless in showing.
Why'd you put it there?
Right, and so Snoke was kind of a unfired Chekhov's gun because he was this mysterious person in the Force Awakens, and you know, very reminiscent of Palpatine.
Going back to Palpatine and this next film, and then you have, you know, the hovering chair with the hooded Palpatine-esque figure. Because I just recently I've watched the trailer like 15 times this past week, and I started yesterday, I finished it today. I rewatched The Last Jedi, and I got to thinking, you know, say Palpatine survived that fall, and say he's found on that destroyed Death Star on that planet that they're discussing, which was that the one that was one of the other moons of Endor or whatever?
I don't even know. I haven't delved in. There's like art books that come out that like give hints about all that in between the films. And I haven't delved that deeply into it. I do know that at the end, one of those final shots, it's like the destroyed Death Star. Yeah. So and I suspect that's where they're gonna run into Palpatine.
So, my theory is Death Star crashes on that planet, moon, whatever the case may be, and somewhere, somehow, maybe Palpatine was developing a clone of himself, of Anakin, of whatever, you know, or just a Force embodied.
Could be trying to clone all of
them.
them.
And that's Snoke. So the Death Star crashes, Palpatine struggling to survive, and that thing, it would really be a thing at that time, finds him, you know, helps bring Palpatine, you know, back, and then Palpatine trains him, bam, Snoke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then they use him to kind of...
Could be, and I called it an unfired Chekhov's gun, but it is really too early to tell because they could tie all that in together at this Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess we'll wait to see after that if I still think it's an unfired Chekhov's gun, because it will be a huge missed opportunity if they don't tie something in with Snoke, because otherwise he was just this big mysterious person. And then he tells Rey, "You're nobody. Your parents are nobody," and then he dies.
I think it's going to cause it's going to be another Jar Jar Binks. I think it is what it'll turn into. If they don't do anything else with him, they'll be like, "Was he?" Because he would have essentially been pointless then. Yeah. If you do nothing with it, if you not even a little bit of a backstory, you know what I mean? Just something.
Yeah. I just
Plus, I hate to say it, but to be such a powerful Sith being, he kind of died pretty quick.
Yeah.
He should have been able to you know, see that coming.
He could have been just being puppeted by Palpatine.
And that would, you know, back my theory up. He was just kind of hand up his ass, just, you know. So,
could be, and we'll find out.
Yeah.
Probably, hopefully.
So, have you watched the 2 episodes of The Mandalorian?
Dude, I've almost watched them twice.
Really?
Like, they're so good, man. John Favreau really hit it out of the park with this. The writing's phenomenal. Pedro Pascal is amazing as the Mandalorian.
I like him in anything, really.
Yeah, I do. Oberyn Martell was a badass. A badass. And then he's the Mando, and just, it's such a great feel. And I love the way that, like, the theme song and the settings really give it this kind of hybrid of, like, Wild West and Middle East vibe. Mm-hmm. You know, like, if you listen to the theme song, you can pick up traces of, like, that Wild West feeling. but you also pick up a lot of like the Middle East feeling too, and those two desert kind of settings coincided with each other.
Right.
So that was really cool. I was a big fan of that.
Well,
and hold on, time out before we go any further with Mando. What's our situation on spoilers here? Because Disney has officially spoiled the big reveal in the first episode.
Big reveal.
Yeah. Disney's officially spoiled that. So according to Disney, it's okay for like the official publications to spoil that.
I'm saying go for it. I think at this point it's been long enough for everyone to watch it, and also too, it's all over the internet.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it's not like with like the Avengers or something where they kind of like everyone was kind of mutually holding back. With this, it was kind of big reveal. So
yeah,
I'm totally cool with it. Right now, man, we're talking about the Mandalorian Kid OC. Appreciate you stopping by.
Welcome, man.
Yeah, but so anyways, I absolutely love the Mandalorian. Since Boba Fett was first introduced, way back when, I mean, everyone wanted some sort of series or film centered around the Mandalorians.
Yeah, it's such a great culture and lore to really delve into.
Yeah.
A lot of like I said, I used to read the books all the time when I was a kid, and a lot of the books handled a lot of the lore going on, and it's good to see that Disney is keeping a lot of that. They kept the tribal aspect of it. When Mando brought the Beskar steel back, and he said for the tribe and stuff like that.
And that was really cool. That was like a kind of almost a heartfelt moment where she forged it and then just put it on his shoulder, and it's like that was awesome.
It was like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
It's him becoming more of a Mandalorian, and so in the extended universe, Beskar steel originated from, I believe it was their first world. So the Mandalorians are technically nomads, but they have like a home world.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beskar steel can apparently repel lightsabers as well as blasters.
Oh, okay.
So, but it requires a very, very special skill to work with it. So people other than Mandalorians who have tried to forge it, I think it ends up in like catastrophic failure and sometimes kills them and stuff like that. So it's very cool, very tribalistic.
So that kind of explains why Jango Fett was such a formidable foe against Obi-Wan and Mace Windu.
Well, so here's the thing. I've been reading a lot into that, and there's actually I don't think Jango Fett or Boba Fett were actually Mandalorians. They just used the armor to instill that fear of the Mandalorians. So
that would have to be further visited, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to delve deeper into that. But I was recently, so when the Mandalorian came out, I wanted to read more into the Mandalorian lore,
the whole lore,
the
and
culture,
everything.
and everything like that. And I started finding things talking about how Jango Fett wasn't actually a real Mandalorian, that he just used the armor because of the fear it instills, and the weaponry because it's a great weapon.
Well, and that was clearly seen in the first episode of The Mandalorian. I mean, just him walking around, everybody knew what he was and what he was about,
Yeah.
And he was a big deal.
Well, the T-visor, that's like, all through all the ages, the Mandalorian armors can change and look differently, but one thing that kind of stays with it is that T-visor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you can really tell. And it does strike fear because they were conquerors. Like, the original stories were that the Mandalorians were a warrior race, they had the warrior ethos, and they were manipulated by the Sith in order to begin a conquest of the universe.
Huh.
And as they were doing their conquest of the universe, they came across the Jedi and the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the Mandalorian Wars. And
so the Sith and the Mandalorians essentially were brought in to the Jedi world at the same time together.
No, the Sith have been around for millennia.
Okay.
The Sith manipulated the Mandalorians into going on this conquest. And when the Mandalorians encountered the Jedi, they were fighting these supernatural warriors, and like they got their butts handed to them.
Yeah.
But then they went back and they forged the Beskar steel, and then they created their martial arts form. Mm-hmm. And the coolest thing about the Mandalorians is the Mandalorians show in the Star Wars universe that no matter how strong your opponent is, with enough perseverance and dedication, you can overcome it. And the Mandalorians stood toe to toe with the Jedi in the Mandalorian War as regular humans, just badass super commandos.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool about it.
Well, I mean, even Jedi, besides, I mean, so they're very well trained as swordsmen.
Yeah.
But besides, and even I think this is blasphemy, but we're just going to call it in a layman's term, their psychic abilities. Which is basically what the Force is.
Yeah.
That's really all they got. I mean, they got their wisdom, which comes from years, which comes from history, which the Mandalorians could also have.
Right.
I mean, and then, you know, they've got their wisdom and everything they've worked as far as their weaponry and skills and things like that. So, take out the psychic abilities. They're essentially the same.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are certain weapons, and you saw this in The Last Jedi, for instance, when Rey and Kylo Ren were fighting Snoke's guards, the Red Guards. I mean, they were using weapons that had that, you know, kind of beam of electricity that were going toe-to-toe with the lightsaber anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's obviously weapons out there that can stand up against the lightsaber. Just the thing is, when you have a very well-trained, powerful Jedi...
No.
That's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, well, so what makes the Jedi so formidable in battle is their ability of the Force. Whenever they're fighting, the Force is actually telling them, like, outcomes, essentially, and telling them possible routes. And so I remember reading the Darth Bane trilogy, and Bane was going through the Sith Academy. This is before the Rule of Two, so they were, like, this whole Sith Academy.
Okay.
And he was fighting one of the guys with the dual lightsaber, like Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading and talking about how the Force tells him possible locations of his saber, and that using the dual wield lightsaber actually overloads the Force sense, because now you've doubled the amount of possibilities where a lightsaber is coming from.
Right.
Until you realize that other lightsaber is limited on its movement on where this one
based
is.
on the
Right.
movement of that
So it's actually half as many possibilities as a regular lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the whole, like, mind fuck of it all, is that, you know, that dual lightsaber is all offense, it's messing with the Force sense and all that, and you have to realize that.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to see, like, them talk about how the Force kind of gives you an edge in hand-to-hand combat, because it's telling you possibilities of what's going to come and how to react to them and stuff like that.
It's kind of like in Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
And he's telling the different paths of his fist and what he can do to, like...
Oh, yeah. That's pretty much kind of what it is, yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, because, I mean, the Force has been explained, you know, in a couple of different ways throughout the films. But essentially, it's a life force. It's the life force that's in everything.
Right.
It's what creates and binds and just keeps everything together. So if you're able to feel that and sense that, then everything is your weapon. I mean, you know. So if you can feel just that vibration kind of bouncing off of things and those different paths, and I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's like Daredevil. Yeah, that's what he is. He's totally blind, but like, you know, sound and smell. You know, somebody swinging, say, a sword at him.
He can
that
smell
sound,
crime before it happens.
Yeah. I smell crime.
Yeah. And that was what made the Mandalorian so badass, is because they were going up against these people who could do that, and they were standing on their own just because they were like these elite super commandos.
Right.
And you can kind of see it in the Mandalorian too, when he goes into that room to collect the bounty from the Imperial guy, and he's got like his rifle out in one hand, his blaster in the other.
Like 4 or 5.
Yeah, he's like there are 4 of us against one. He's like, I'll take those odds. Yeah, and that's how badass the Mandalorian martial arts is because the 4 against 1, like, he's not even worried about it. And so it's really cool to see all that, and the whole lone gunman vibe I love.
Well, it's a western.
Yes,
that's all it is. We're watching the Lone Ranger out here.
I mean, the Lone Ranger in the future.
Yeah, I mean, and it's great because with everything that Star Wars has come out with over the past few years, you know, it's all been centered on the Skywalker story.
Yeah,
and that, I mean, and then we finally got the Solos film. Rogue One, which is cool because it added in a bit of detail as to what led to the events in A New Hope, which was awesome. I mean, and so we got these little things in between, but it's all still basically been centered around Skywalker. Yeah,
well, so the way I see it is, with the Skywalker saga, we've got knights/samurai, and that's what the whole story is. Actually, the original Star Wars was, a lot of the story was ripped from a film by a director called Akira Kurosawa.
I know what you're talking about because I've read what not a documentary. It's kind of like a biography on George Lucas and where he just kind of grabbed everything to create Star Wars. Yeah, so the original Star Wars was pretty much ripped from Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa is like one of my favorite samurai movie directors. Amazing director. But yeah, so then he took like from that, and then you go through the Jedi. You go through the Jedi Order from the prequels. You're getting samurai. You're getting knights and all that. That's kind of what that story tells. Mm-hmm. Rogue One gave us like this military
and Resistance film. You know, you got a lot of Resistance fighters going up against military. At the end, you got to see Vader, but it's mostly just espionage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Solo gave us the smugglers, the bounty hunters, and all that. You know, the anti-hero crime movie, which is always fun. Mandalorian's given us that Wild West feel, and that's amazing. And it's always been there in the Star Wars realm. It's just nobody's ever like tapped on it.
You know, you're thinking there's so many different systems in the Star Wars universe. I mean, there's so much more going on.
Yeah.
That maybe doesn't, or then again maybe does tie into and directly affect the other stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And who knows? The Mandalorian just found a baby Yoda.
A baby Yoda, yeah. Now, for those who don't know, this is not actual baby Yoda. This is a species that it's the same species that Yoda is. The Mandalorian, and I actually had to have this conversation with somebody. The Mandalorian's actually set after Return of the Jedi. It's like I forget how many years after the rise of the First Order.
It's only just it's not a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
Like after, but because you're still finding Empire memorabilia and stuff.
Right. Well, and that's what he says whenever Carl Weathers.
Yeah,
I love seeing Carl Weathers. When Carl Weathers tried to hand him Imperial credits, and he's like, "Oh, these aren't good anymore," and all that. You know, so you can tell the Empire's on the downswing. You know, so it's after Return of the Jedi. It's after, it's obviously after the Battle of Yavin.
Right.
But yeah, so this is a baby, a child of the same species as Yoda, which is amazing.
Chrissy, sorry. What's up, buddy? I know you've been waiting a while, man. We're back, baby. We're back.
What up? So yeah,
but you can't help but call it Baby Yoda because we don't know what Yoda originally was. And did you see the meme where it's like, I think it's like dude talking to his girl or whatever, and he's like, I'm not gonna call it baby, whatever the fuck race Yoda is. He's
whatever
like,
the fuck species
it's
Yoda
Baby
is.
Yoda. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's what the internet's been calling it. So it's all kind of that's what it's been dubbed until they give us an official name of the species.
Right.
We're gonna call it Baby Yoda, and I'm fine with it. It rolls off the tongue pretty well.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones with the Baby Yoda memes are just amazing. I'm loving it. Like one of the Yoda standing there and being like, "Games on your phone you have?"
Yeah.
and all that. But I think my favorite one was it shows Yoda saying "do or do not, there is no try," and then below it shows the Baby Yoda and it says "Boomer, okay."
Oh yeah, I saw that one just a little bit ago. So now, I haven't actually seen how many episodes are they gonna do of this.
That I'm unsure of, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a singular miniseries or like an ongoing seasonal thing.
Oh, Grizzly, don't worry, brother. Yeah, actually, if you've already seen the first episode, you're really not going to get any spoilers. So keep on watching, dude.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything from the second.
Yeah.
The
there's
first
not
one
really
is
much to spoil. Really, the biggest thing was seeing more of Baby Yoda, which
Well,
you've seen the first.
There is one spoiler though.
Well, but it's not like worth.
Yeah. It's not as big as the first one.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to spoil that one. I typically wait, and this is a personal rule for me. I wait until the next episode is out before I spoil anything from the episodes before.
Well, and truth be told, I didn't think we were going to do this on a Tuesday, but then you were down and I was down, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's run it." So
yeah.
But no, I would hope they run it for at least 10 episodes.
Yeah, if they're gonna do it as a mini series, I would hope so. I'm not gonna lie, with the bounty hunter setup, you could really run that for seasons until you got tired of it.
Forever. I mean, forever.
You could just come up with a new bounty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that difficult. Like, I'm not talking about. We don't want to go into Monster of the Week.
Right.
That's a played thing, but if you could do Monster of the Season, I mean, that worked really well for Supernatural.
I was literally just about to say, we're not fucking Sam and Dean Winchester out here hunting ghosts and shit.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, I mean, they have the Monster of the Week, but they also had, like, the overlying seasonal theme.
Yeah, but, dude, there's like 20-something episodes in the season of Supernatural. You know how many episodes you had to watch before you got any detail?
Yeah. That's why, like, I've seen some of the episodes, but I don't know the whole story. Cause
oh, man.
I didn't even really discover Supernatural until, like, season 7.
Really?
And then there was, like, I'm not watching frickin' 200 episodes to catch up.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. Which has that just sidebar. That's actually about to be done. They're on, I think it's the 15th season.
I saw that.
It's gonna be done with. But yeah, it'd be great because even shows that that are so good, but they only do like the 6 or 8 episode thing. It's just not enough.
Yeah, but at the same time, it can be done. It's done really well. Like what is it? Good Omens.
That was really good. I did finally watch that.
Now, granted, you leave wanting more,
Mm-hmm.
but you know what? That's one of the common things of showbiz.
Right.
Always leave them wanting more.
Well,
That's
yeah,
how you know what something.
You don't want to get bored.
You don't want to beat it until it's dead, and then nobody wants anymore.
Yeah. It's like, man, we fucked up. We threw too much in on
Yeah,
the first
exactly. We went all in, and now people don't want it. You don't want to jump the shark.
one. Right.
And interestingly, you know where that phrase comes from, right? So the phrase
Jaws?
No, actually, no. So the phrase "jump the shark" comes from Happy Days. So Happy Days.
When Fonzie jumped the shark?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the concept is that Happy Days was great until that episode, and then just started going downhill.
Huh.
Because they just beat it too much and was going too outlandish with it. So there's actually two common phrases when you're talking about television shows being good or bad. It's jump the shark when a show's been good, and then it has this pivotal moment and it starts going downhill. There's also called a Riker's beard. And this is from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay.
And if you watch Star Trek The Next Generation, the first season is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Riker, Commander William T.,
Right.
is clean shaven the whole time. Season 2, he comes back and he has a beard, and the show gets like 10 times better.
You see, chap, it only takes a little bit more facial hair to make anything good.
Set beard to stunning.
Set beard to stunning. I like that. I'm using that tomorrow.
So yeah, those are the two common phrases, and usually the Riker's beard refers to a show that sucks, and then all of a sudden gets good. Neither of these, so the Mando started out strong. It can jump the shark eventually. I'm not sure if they're going to. I really hope they go more than just a miniseries with it and do seasons.
Yeah.
But a miniseries, if you do enough episodes of it, it can be good. But you have to have a planned arc.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and I'm really excited about what Disney Plus has done thus far. I mean, just from friends on, social media and just online in general, seeing all the people that have gotten a Disney Plus subscription, I would almost be willing to bet more people in the U.S. alone have more Disney Plus subscriptions than they do Netflix subscriptions.
oh yeah,
And that's amazing, because really, besides The Mandalorian, Disney Plus is only showing stuff that's already been released.
yeah.
I mean, which granted, Disney does great things, and of course they do own Star Wars and Marvel now.
Yes.
So you can't go wrong with that.
Right. So and they also the Disney Plus subscription gives you all the Disney films, and then they have a little section of it called Out of the Vault. These are like all the old classic ones, like the old Snow White,
Right,
Sleeping
Lady
Beauty.
and the Tramp, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Then they also have the Pixar films and all the Pixar stuff.
Because Disney is Disney Pixar, correct?
Yeah, Pixar is a subsidiary of Disney. They're
Right.
they're pretty related. And then they have the Star Wars, and then they have the Marvel section in their subscription. The only thing I'm pissed about is that they don't have any of the Studio Ghibli dubs. The like My Neighbor Totoro. Because
okay.
those were, if I'm correct, those were Disney. The dubs when they were released in America,
Right.
those were released by Disney as well. I think those are actually going to HBO Max, which
Okay.
pisses me off, because if they'd have put the Studio Ghibli stuff in Disney, that's the only thing I would have ever needed for me and my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they're already in talk. They're already in development with a lot of original series, which is cool.
Obi-Wan.
I mean, well, Obi-Wan.
Dude, I'm a huge. I'm obviously my handle's Obi-John Kenobi.
You got Ewan McGregor on to do it. Like, what?
You know, I used to read this thing. Whenever he was fighting, doing the lightsaber duels, he would make the noises with his mouth. I was like, oh man, we don't deserve him as Obi-Wan.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Alec Guinness was old Ben.
Oh, he was awesome.
He was
amazing.
not Obi-Wan Kenobi though, because Ewan McGregor, he did, unfortunately. And you don't normally get to say this a lot about a lot of things, but Ewan McGregor kind of did his thing.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
I mean, and it would be awesome to see the transition from like the end of Revenge of the Sith to old Ben. I mean, that's just gonna be really exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how Ewan plays into old Ben.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. That'll really show some of his range, especially now that he's getting older. He can't play the young buck adventurer anymore. Yeah. He's got to play that, aging gentleman now.
Well, and then they're doing the Marvel series on there too.
Yeah,
which are awesome, because they just stated a couple weeks ago that they will be directly tying into the next phase of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I think Loki's supposed to be explaining what happened to the Space Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I know Scarlet Witch and Vision is going to be like this 1950s thing. I'm not sure what they're going to try to tie into it with. and all that stuff.
I think the biggest one right now with the tie-ins though is going to be Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Yeah,
because it's going to kind of show Captain Falcon, Sam transitioning into Captain America.
That'll be an interesting show because in the comics, both Bucky and Sam have taken the mantle of Captain America. Right. So that'll be really interesting to see. Yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for a lot of the movies that are slated to come out. I'm stoked for the What If. Yeah, that's such a cool series of the comics.
Well, and Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to come back and reprise his role as Iron Man for that one, or maybe just Tony Stark. We don't know if he'll put the suit on. We hope he will.
Possibly. I've heard speculation that he's going to be an AI. Yeah. That's modeled after.
That would still be cool. You just want that Tony Stark.
Yeah,
and you can get that in an AI. So
I think I'm most excited for as Guardians of the Galaxy though.
Yeah. Thor
and the Guardians of the Galaxy, like. So before the MCU came out, I was actually a huge Captain America fan. He was my favorite superhero. And as I got older, kind of my priorities changed. And the MCU really made me fall in love with Thor. Yeah. Thor is hands down my favorite character in the MCU. And it was interesting how they did that and how they still kept a lot of that Captain America appeal from the comics. But they really brought out Tony Stark. They really brought out Thor. They really brought out Hulk. Yeah. More so than the comics have recently.
Well, that's like, I mean, even RDJ, man, he was born to be Tony Stark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, absolutely born. You know what I did see earlier today, since we're on this topic? Lou Ferrigno commenting on what he thought of the Hulk, and he is not happy about it.
No, he's not. But and here's the thing. So I get where Lou's coming from. I get where Mr. Ferrigno is coming from, and he's
Mr. Ferrigno.
He's hey, you know what? He played the Hulk.
He was the OG. I'll give it to him.
He played the Hulk. He was a very famous bodybuilder. I think he's earned the respect of Mr.
Yeah,
but he has a point when he's talking about the conflict between Banner and Hulk and Savage Hulk. Mm-hmm. But I think he's missing what the comics did whenever they went into like Green Scar, which is what we saw in Thor Ragnarok, kind of. Not so much. Green Scar is after Planet Hulk. After that whole tournament, he essentially takes over and becomes ruler of that planet. And becomes Green Scar, and then he comes back to Earth and becomes the World Breaker. Mm-hmm. But then we also get to see Professor Hulk, and all these different variations of Hulk have been in the comics and have been such a really cool way to see how Banner's personality melds with Hulk's, and I think Lou Ferrigno's missing that. Yeah. And seeing the different things because he
saw it as a monster. He was afraid of the Hulk.
He saw it as Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah. And I get it. That's a huge part of Hulk, but there's more to Hulk than just that. Right. And I think Lou Ferrigno is overlooking that instead of because that's what he played. Yeah. He played the Savage
That's
Hulk.
What made him, really. Right. Besides the whole bodybuilding.
Well, that was the Hulk he knows.
Yeah.
And I don't think they really touched on Professor Hulk or Grey Hulk or Joe Fixit or any of those.
I don't think they did it all throughout that 80s shows. Yeah. Which I love Mark Ruffalo anyway, and him as Bruce Banner was really good.
He surprised me. Yeah. I wasn't on board with him at first.
Really?
Dude, I'm a huge Ed Norton fan. I understand Hollywood he's very difficult to work with. Mm-hmm. I get it, but I'm a huge Ed Norton fan. Yeah. And I loved him as Bruce Banner.
Which Joe Rogan, as a matter of fact, just had Ed Norton on the Joe Rogan Experience, and I'm trying to remember what he said because Joe asked him about that.
Yeah. And well, he had a plan for Hulk, and he had laid out for Marvel this 2-movie arc. Mm-hmm. And then Marvel said, "Yeah, let's do it." And then after he made the first movie, they changed the plan on him. Yeah. And then that spawned this whole freaking
rift. Between them. Yeah.
So
which I love, and Ed Norton. I love everything he's been in. Really, anything and everything I've seen. I mean, I love.
Death to Smoochie's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And he was a great Bruce Banner. He was. He was better than Eric Bana. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, my God, that dude barely did any acting. I don't even think he spoke more than 20 words throughout the movie.
Well, and I like Eric Bana in Black Hawk Down. Hoot's awesome, but
Black Hawk Down. But was he Bruce Banner?
No. Well, I think that film just kind of they took Savage Hulk and took a lot of artistic liberties with it that a lot of people didn't like.
Right.
Like Hulk being able to leap halfway across the world and shit like that. Like Nobody's really on board with that.
Well, and I think with the Hulk movies, what they should have done, which I saw something today on Instagram about it, and I'm sure you're aware of this too. When Christopher Nolan has his original idea for the Dark Knight, it was 3 films.
Yeah.
He had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he had. And when people asked, help me, Batman.
Yeah.
Dude who played Batman.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Why can't I literally just saw this like maybe 2 hours ago. But Christian Bale, I mean, when he was asked about it, he said no. I would not, because they asked if he would do a 4th one.
Yeah.
He was like, no. He's like, why touch something that was done so perfectly?
Yeah. So the 3 parts is actually really common in screenwriting, because in most stories you have an Act 1, an Act 2, and an Act 3.
Right.
You know, the rise, the climax, and the resolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's common in storytelling. So doing something in 3s is very fitting when you're telling a story. Even if because then you've got the 3s within the 3, and now with Star Wars you've got the 3s within the 3 within the 3.
You got fucking peaks and valleys
Yeah.
all over the place.
Well, so and 3s are everywhere all through it. So you've got the 3 acts within each film, and then you've got 3 films.
Because that's standard. You have to have that. That's the already determined flow of any.
That's
story.
how a story works.
It has to be that way.
And then you have the 3 films of a trilogy, and now you have the 3 trilogies of the saga.
Yeah.
And then and top all that with the fact that George Lucas was doing it's called ring storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is if you watch the first 3 movies and then you watch the next 3 movies, you'll see it's telling the same kind of story just in reverse. And you can see things like that all through it. I'm trying to think. So you can see, like, okay, in the episode 1, it starts out with the Jedi being prevalent. Episode 2, there's conflict.
Right.
And then episode 3, the Empire's on top.
Yep.
Well, then episode 4, we start out, the Empire's on top.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's conflict. And then the rebellion wins over, and the Jedi and the light side have won.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's doing this circular storytelling, and it creates a ring.
Yeah. Hopefully, the Rise of Skywalker, finally, for the love of God, we get balance to the fucking Force.
Yeah.
But then again, in saying that, that's me saying I don't kind of somewhat hope for more films in the future.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I do. Star Wars is something that I would never really want to die. Now, not to say that it would die. I mean, if this is the last one, they stopped here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all the greatness that has been achieved thus far.
Yeah.
And is the little bits and pieces I may not like about some of them do not overpower what I love about all of them.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, the story's solid. The lore is amazing. It's the reason why all of us keep coming back.
Right.
I honestly, the end of this saga, I really, the only way I can see any kind of balance between the light side and the dark side of the Force is a Frodo tossing the ring in Mount Doom moment, like where something is changed forever about the Force, and the way that people use it. If it's lessened or something, but it's gonna need, if they just defeat Palpatine, then it's just, we're just gonna wait until somebody finds another Sith holocron and another Jedi turns to the dark side.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a Frodo tossing the ring moment.
Now that you say that, that would be great if somehow Anakin came back, because he was supposed to be the chosen one. He was the one. You were supposed to bring balance to the Force, not destroy it. You know, that would be amazing, because that is something where you could end it where you don't have to really mess with the Force. You just bring the balance. However they play it out.
Yeah.
Anakin's back. He brings that balance.
Mm-hmm.
That would be spectacular.
Yeah.
You know, what if maybe Anakin's soul has just been in torment this whole time, and then something happens and bam.
Well, it depends on if you look at the special editions. I mean, in the special editions, Anakin's a Force ghost.
Yeah.
At the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. And I don't know if... They keep fucking with the original so much, I don't know what's canon anymore.
No.
Did Han shoot first? Did Greedo shoot first? I always posit Han shot first. It fits the character, and it really shows his change as a character from, like, a morally gray person to somebody who's willing to do the right thing.
Right.
But still somewhat morally gray.
I think that question is going to be asked for generations to come.
Yeah, but and you still got to ask, like, you know, did Anakin become a Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi?
Right.
If so, how? Like, nobody ever taught him how to become a Force ghost. That's something you have to learn. Now, I don't doubt that Luke knows how to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Luke as
Luke.
Force Ghost.
Yeah, Luke could definitely know how to do it, and obviously Yoda would know.
Right.
But and
Yoda,
and,
we know Yoda knows.
and Yoda had talked before about Qui-Gon already knowing, and he specifically said he was going to show Obi-Wan how to get in contact with Qui-Gon, who would have then showed Obi-Wan.
Right.
So that makes sense. Anakin.
Well, so we know Qui-Gon hit Force Ghost off screen. We know Obi-Wan hit Force Ghost because he appeared to Luke as Force Ghost.
Mm.
We know Yoda made Force Ghost because he was a Force Ghost to Luke in Last Jedi. So we know all those. So I don't doubt that Luke knows how. And I have a feeling that's what happened whenever he like fucking floated and then vanished. Because he did the same thing Obi-Wan did. Same thing Yoda did. He just his body wasn't there anymore. It just vanished.
Well, and that's like what Obi-Wan told Darth Vader before he struck him down.
Yeah.
I'll become more powerful than you could possibly,
If you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that could be another thing in this next film. Maybe Anakin coming back as a Force Ghost, or maybe it's Palpatine. Palpatine already knew how, and he's been there, kind of puppet master.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean,
Well, no. So the Sith can't be Force Ghosts, and that was actually addressed in Clone Wars when Yoda learns how to do it. So in Clone Wars, the animated series, Yoda actually it shows Yoda learning how to become a Force
is the
Ghost.
animated series still canon?
Well, that's the crazy thing. There's like 2 different
Because
animated
you know what,
series.
I know, and I haven't watched it myself.
Yeah.
I've been meaning. I want to,
Mhm.
but then again, I mean that if it's not canon, then I could hold off. If it is canon, then maybe I could try and crush it before December 20th.
I think one of them is.
Yeah.
So there's one where it's like I think there's one where it's like very old school animation, and one where it's like the animation is similar to Star Wars Rebels,
Right.
and Star Wars Resistance. I think that one's canon.
Okay.
And I think it had Darth Maul coming back, and it had Rebels was the one that had
Rebels had Darth Maul and Obi-Wan fight
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah. But there was a Clone Wars that looked like that, and I think that one's canon. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to do a little more research on it, but I'm pretty sure one of them is canon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was reading an article today about it showing Yoda becoming a Force Ghost, and it showed the things he did. And one of the quotes it said was, "A path remains open to us that is forever closed to the Sith."
And that's
the Force Ghost.
Okay.
So, and then that leads back into why Palpatine is always searching for immortality.
Mm-hmm.
And it even goes back to the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. He could save everyone around him except for himself.
Right.
And that's what Palpatine's main mission is that immortality and ultimate power.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, I'm excited to see it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, for anybody in the chat who doesn't know, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker comes out December 20th of this year. I kind of want to go see it on the 20th.
I do too.
Yeah.
If I've got nothing going on, I'm definitely gonna.
I don't know what day of the week that is, but we're gonna have to check it out, man. And see what's
It'll
going
either
on.
be it'll be within 7 days of the 20th.
Yeah, absolutely. Which will be maybe perfect timing for another podcast. Right after. So who knows? Appreciate everybody who stopped by, man. Show some support. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter. All that's linked down below in the channel. That'll help you keep up to date with the stream as well as the podcast. My YouTube is also linked down there. In just a few minutes after we cut this, I will do my little thing with it and get it uploaded there. If that's it, but I'm thinking maybe the next 2, 3, 4 weeks get another episode rolled out.
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah. Let's start cranking these out.
Yeah, I'm totally down with everything that's been going on lately and all the stuff that's coming out and all the news that's coming to light. We couldn't possibly run out of things to talk about.
No, and we've already got a lot of future topics. I know Grizz wanted us to do an episode on D&D.
D&D, I'm absolutely down for that.
And there's all kinds of stuff. I have like this huge repertoire of geeky hobbies and stuff. Like I have more geeky hobbies than I can actually get to.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Well, stay tuned on Twitter. I will be posting updates. I would imagine we'll get our next topic kind of down pat and discussed a little bit, and maybe throw in a little news about that on Twitter. So be sure to follow me on that down below. If you go over to YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys next time.
Later.